So let me see if I can adjust the slides here. All right, cool. So people can hear me. Okay, it's 8:10 p.m. right now. Sorry for the delay. So let's get started. Welcome everyone to the second edition of the travel hacking webinar. For those of you who joined me last time, which was about 4 or 5 months ago, thank you for coming back. And for those of you who are joining me for the first time, I will go over the basics. Then I will introduce a topic, and after that, we're gonna do like a live Q&A for the people that are still on the webinar by then. All right, so let's get started. Just to give you some quick background about myself, I went to Rutgers to study engineering. I got my MBA from William Patterson. I work in real estate as an agent and investor. And I am also a travel enthusiast. So I've been using the points and miles system for the past 7 years. And I believe it's been a little over 2 years now that I've been using it to fly mostly in business class. And here, if you want to follow me on social media, here's my handle. Right now, I'm working on getting a new one that's more like travel related, but that's going to be in the future. Okay, so what can points and miles do for me? Points and miles can do a lot of things for you. It can help you get flights for free, but it can also help you travel in style for cheap or sometimes free as well. And if you were here last time, I think we left off where I was telling everyone that the best value that you get for your points and miles is by transferring them to a partner airline. So I spoke to a lot of people in the last few weeks, and I found out that a lot of people didn't even know that you could transfer your points from your credit card to airlines. So if you have a travel credit card like the Chase Sapphire, could be the Preferred or the Reserve, or the American Express Gold, Platinum, or the Venture Capital or Built, you can transfer your points to the airlines. And most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, you're going to get more value out of them by transferring them out of your credit card into the airlines. And here I have a meme saying no to the travel portal that most of you are probably familiar with, and saying yes to transfer your points to the airlines, especially when there is a transfer bonus offer. So if you can see the screenshot here, you can see this is for the Chase Sapphire Preferred, but it could also be for the Reserve, because whenever there's a transfer bonus offer for the Preferred, most of the time it's going to be the same one for the Chase Sapphire Reserve. And it's a transfer bonus offer for 30% bonus when you transfer out of your credit card into these airlines like British Airways, Iberia, or Aer Lingus. The only thing that I see that I want to point out in this screenshot here is that they all kind of belong to the same alliance. So whether you transfer to Iberia or British Airways, you might be looking at the same flights. So it's good that you have the ability to transfer out of your credit card into the airline. But when it's the same alliance, you're basically you might be looking at the same flights, whether you look in Iberia or whether you look on British Airways. Now, when they have transfer bonus offers to like different alliances, like let's say Star Alliance with like Air Canada or United, but they also have transfer bonus offers to British Airways or Iberia for the One World Alliance, then you have more options. So that's always better. And like I was saying, you transfer out of your Chase, American Express, Built, Venture Capital. There's a whole list of different credit cards, travel credit cards that will let you transfer to airlines. But it's not just about transferring your points to the airlines and getting the most value out of them. It's also about being flexible with dates. For instance, if you look at flights within like, let's say the next 6 months, and let's say you want to go to Europe, you might not be able to redeem points on every day of the month, whether you're looking at any airline. Sometimes redeeming points for flights is not available 7 days a week. So you have to be a little flexible with the dates. Try to always see if you can book maybe 1 or 2 days before, 1 or 2 days after your preferred date. And also see if you can book when it's off peak season, or if you want to travel, let's say this summer to Europe, see if you can go right at the beginning or right at the end, because then that's when you'll see the most availability for redeeming points. And not you don't have to. I mean, you should be flexible, but not just with dates, but also with locations. So, for instance, if you want to travel to Spain, there is a sweet spot going from Kennedy. If you're on the East Coast, there is a sweet spot going from John F. Kennedy on Iberia, right? Redeeming, I think it's like about 34,000 avios, which is the points currency that Iberia uses. It's about 34,000 avios, and you can fly in Iberia business class from Kennedy to JFK to Madrid. So if your final destination is, let's say, for instance, Barcelona, then you can fly from JFK, arrive at Madrid in Iberia business class, and then you can book I believe it's a 3-hour train from Madrid going to Barcelona. And the ticket will probably cost, for that train will probably cost like $80, 70 or $80. So essentially, I mean, you're not landing in Barcelona, but you have the ability to book that sweet spot to Madrid and then just spend like an extra 70, $80 and go on a 3-hour train ride from Madrid to Barcelona. Or you can even stay in Madrid for a few days and then travel to Barcelona, which is what I did when I went last year. Third bullet point I have here: if it's a good deal, book it. If you come across a good redemption, so let's say you come across one of these sweet spots that I was mentioning to you with Iberia, you might not see them every day, but if you see it and if you see that there's two, let's say one or two available, then try to book the flight as soon as you can. Don't forget that because we are in the US, you can cancel your flight within 24 hours. So if you need time to think about it, just go ahead and book the flight on points. And then if you have second thoughts, or you have to check with your job whether you can take off or not the day after, then you still have 24 hours to cancel and get your points back, and your money that you spent. And also, if you don't have enough points, so this is for the people that don't have a lot of points. I myself don't have that many. Then see if you can use more points and less cash. I'm sorry, less points and more cash. So Iberia does let you do that. So for that sweet spot with the 34,000 avios that you need, you can also go lower on the avios. I think you can go as low as 15 or 14,000 avios, and then just pay a little bit more in cash. I know that kind of defeats the purpose of using points to travel for less or for free, but at the same time, even if you were to add, the extra cost in the surcharge fee, that's still relatively small compared to the actual cash price of that business class seat. Because I believe that flight going from JFK to Madrid is about $3,000 to $4,000. But the difference in using less points and more cash is probably about like $200 more. And okay, let's go to the next slide. So how much are my points and miles worth? This is the topic that I wanted to introduce tonight. And then for future webinars, what I'm going to be doing is introducing like one topic. So, you can learn as much as you can about that one topic. And then for the next webinar, I'll introduce a new one. So it doesn't feel too concentrated. Okay, so how much are my points and miles worth? This is a formula that I often use. It's called the cents per point formula. And I don't see that many travel creators talking about this on social media. Very few actually do it. I think it's because like this is kind of like the boring part of like, traveling and getting the most value out of your points and miles. But when you use this formula, is actually a way that you can tell whether you're actually getting a lot of value or whether it's better to just book your flight using cash. So the formula goes like this. Yeah, to get your cents per point, you have to have the cash price or the flight that you're looking at minus the surcharge fee, and that difference you divide that by the points that you need to redeem that flight. So, for instance, when you book a flight on points or miles, it's not just the points and miles, but you also have to pay what's called a surcharge fee. So you'll see something like, in order to redeem this flight, you need like 30,000 points and miles plus an additional 200 or $100, right? And those are called like the surcharge, taxes, gas fees, fuel, whatever you want to call it. And then once you have that number, you multiply it by 100, and that result is what's called a cents per point. So whatever number you get, you start comparing and you start looking at it. Whereas 2 to 3 cents per point, I think that's fine if you're just getting started. But eventually, what you want to do is get 4 cents per point or more. So if you're trying to redeem a flight on points and you see that you're getting like one, or maybe I've seen people redeem points for like less than 1 cent per point. You might not be getting a lot of value out of them. But if you're someone that has a lot of points, like if you're someone that has 200, 300,000 points in Chase or American Express, and you're also someone that constantly gets points and miles, then I wouldn't worry too much about that. But this is mostly for the people that don't have a lot of points and miles and they want to get the most value out of the little bit that they have. All right, so here's an example of using the cents per point formula. This is my flight that I went to about 2 months ago now. It was back in March, April. Okay, so actually it was more than 2 months ago. So this is when I flew from JFK to Tokyo. And this was right before peak season. So in the previous slide, I showed the image here on the right. This is for ANA business class. Their business class product is called the Room. And this flight took me from JFK to Tokyo. I believe it was 14 hours, a 14-hour flight, which was actually worth $13,702. So almost $14,000 to go on this flight, 14-hour flight from JFK to Tokyo in ANA's business class. So if we were to calculate how much those points that I used were worth, and here I listed actually the points that I needed were 47,500 Virgin Atlantic points, which is part of their flying club program. So I needed 47,500 Virgin Atlantic points plus the surcharge fee that I was talking to you guys before of $293. So the options obviously were either pay almost $14,000 in cash or use 47,500 Virgin Atlantic points plus the $293 surcharge fee. And the reason why I'm talking about using Virgin Atlantic's points and not ANA is because the whole, no pun intended, but the whole point of using points and miles is actually transferring your points to an airline and then using that airline's frequent flyer program to book a flight on a different airline. Most of the time, if I'm transferring to, let's say, Air Canada, I'm not actually transferring. I mean, I'm not actually flying on Air Canada. I'm using Air Canada's Aeroplan program to book flights on another Star Alliance airline. So, for instance, Air Canada and United, they're part of the same alliance. If I want to fly from here, there's a direct flight going from Newark to Lima, Peru. I might be transferring points to Air Canada and then using Air Canada's Aeroplan program to book a flight on United. So that's kind of like the whole essence of this whole points and miles game. you're transferring to another airline and using their program to book a flight on a different airline, which most of the time is going to be part of the same alliance. So in this case, I booked the flight to fly on ANA business class, but I transferred my points from my credit card to Virgin Atlantic. And then I used Virgin Atlantic's flying club miles to book my flight on ANA. And the cash price was almost $14,000, so it was $13,702. And then if we put it all into the formula, we're actually getting a value of 28 cents per point. So in the previous slide, I was telling you, if you're just starting off, getting 2 to 3 cents per point is okay, but always try to get more than 4. And in this case, this was a flight that I redeemed that I got a value of 28 cents per point, which it's obviously it's great. Maybe I should have used a different example, but this is what you want out of this whole points and miles game. You want to get the most value out of your points and miles. So as soon as you see a flight available to redeem points, and you use the formula, and you see that you're getting more than 4, if you're getting 5, 6, 7, or more than 10, then you know it's going to be a good deal. All right, and some quick action items. Some of the things that you can do for free starting right now, and I've met people that had no idea, but it might sound like obvious to some of you, but if you travel with an airline, you do it all the time, you travel with United, American Airlines, or Delta, you should already have an account with them. You should already start collecting miles from past flights. And if you're not, then go create one as soon as possible and try to claim as many miles as you can from the previous 6 to whatever months they let you. Some airlines will let you do as far as 1 year, but most of them will let you do for like 6 months. So try to get as many miles as you can, because it's not just about the miles, it's also about the status. So the more you fly with those airlines, the more you will build up your history so that you can go up in status. Like for instance, United has Silver, which is like the lowest tier of their program. But with it, you get some of the perks that you will otherwise not get as a non-member. For instance, you can have a check. I believe it's a free check bag. You can also choose to be in Economy Plus 24 hours before you fly. You also have the chance of getting into the upgrade list. And that's just for having Silver, which is the lowest tier of their program. So go do that ASAP if you don't already have an account with the airline that you fly the most. And also sign up for their newsletter. That's one thing that a lot of people ask me, oh, so how did you get this deal? And how did you find out about this deal? Just sign up for the newsletter. Don't ignore the emails. Some of them might contain good deals every now and then. And learn your alliances. So learn who's part of the Star Alliance, who's part of the Sky Team, because that's going to help you a lot when you want to transfer your miles. If you want to get somewhere and you're going to transfer points into an airline, just make sure you know which alliance they're part of, because you might not be traveling on that airline, but you might be using that airline's miles program to book a flight on a partner airline that's within the same alliance. And last but not least, this is also free. Follow me on Instagram. I try to post a lot of things that come my way when it comes to deals or transferring points to the airlines. And also subscribe to my YouTube channel. I am going to upload a video probably by next week. And what I want to do is like start a series of like starting from the very beginning of like which credit card you should get, the difference between the points and miles, and all of that. All right, so that concludes the topic that I wanted to introduce. If you have any questions, you can post it on the chat at this time. And if not, I'm going to email the presentation. Also, this is already being recorded actually, so I might just send the link out so you can see the presentation for those that could not make it. And let me just go back to, let me see here. All right. I was having some issues with my mic. I'm using my AirPods now, but I don't know what happened with the audio is being a little. I think it's lagging. But okay, if there are no questions, I'm going to send out the link for the recording. If you have any additional, my sister says Delia says good info as always. Thank you very much. Thank you whoever joined, Hector, Sabi, Jonathan, Delia, and then I might be missing some more people. But I'm going to email the link to the recording. It's also going to be on my YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me on my social media pages. Right here on my social media pages, on my Instagram. I reply to a lot of the questions that I get. So you have any, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you from Hector and Jackie. Thank you for joining, guys. Kaori, gracias. Yes, I was watching the Peru game, so that's why I was a few minutes late. But yeah. Anyway, thank you for joining, and I'll see you on the next one. Again, I'm gonna try to do the next one hopefully next month, sometime in like the end of July, because I have a few trips coming up, so I might not be able to do it like in the middle of July, but probably by the end of next month. All right. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you on the next one.